Welcome back to Front Mission First Remake, and now what you're gonna do is you need to level up Frederick in the arena. And the way his skills are set are as follows. I'm gonna load up the actual save here. The three skills that you want to have on Frederick are Speed, Switch, and Guide, because that's what his skill set is. He can, for whatever reason, not learn Duel, and he has, actually I think it was 4 skill slots according to the Jin Shang docs or whatever it was, and you can put a melee perk on him, but you really don't even need to because he is all about speed, switch, and guide. But because he does not have duel, he cannot individually target parts on an enemy's mech. I'm thinking of what I might do with him long term. I might just give him a grenade launcher and a fully automatic rifle. Maybe swap out the rifle for a shotgun, do shotgun and grenade launcher. But anyway, that's essentially what you do when you level up Frederick. And you do it in that order: speed, switch, and guide. And when you're going to level up switch, it's a lot more helpful to use a semi-automatic rifle to actually do that, because if you were to use a fully automatic rifle, you'd probably destroy your opponents and you would have a really hard or even impossible time trying to level up the switch skills. So when you get switch after you max out speed to 3, then you're going to need to switch to semi-automatic rifles. You're going to need to go into the arena, of course, and obviously select Frederick as you're leveling him up, and same drill. You start on Rudensky, get to the appropriate range level skill of 14, 15, 16 for short range. And then, you move to Werewolf for a while. And then once you get to range skill of 22 and speed 2, then you're going to go after Demon 5. And then you're just going to keep grinding them and earning money and XP. Grinding the game is worth it because not only will it net you XP and skills, it will also get you a whole ton of money so that you can buy the parts that you actually need. And another thing I need to cover right now is that depending on what weapons you actually go with is going to determine what fire control system you're actually going to use. We're going to go to setup here just as an introduction on further intricacies on how the game actually works. And as you can see, I have them set up different ways. Some of them are set up the same way, some are different based upon what their gear set is. And I'll go over these setups when it's time to actually progress to that mission. But what I need to point out is that over here in pilot status, this will give you a broader spectrum of what I'm actually doing, what you need to do. And you can see all of the actual skills, and you can see the gear and the weapons and the parts that are on here as well. And I'll go into the actual customization momentarily and show you why I've got said CPU on said mech. Now, initially, when you get your squad mates Keith and JJ, they are by default going to have the SetchV CPU, but you'll notice I put the Meteor on Keith because it has better long-range capability, and I believe Natalie starts with the Meteor one. And then, I equipped SetchV on Ryuji, and then Royd once it was available, and then I gave Meihua that Russian one for melee because she is a melee character. She has double stun and first. And now that you know those very important details, we're going to go back to the setup here, and I'm going to explain why. For Royd's mech, you'll notice that he has, 2 PAP 55 SMGs. And since he has SMGs, he's obviously going to need the proper associated CPU, and he is using the SetchV because that modifies short to 40. It has a little bit of supporting long, and of course, you have the bonus dodge, and that correlates to his skills and how he's actually set up. What you're going to need to do for other characters is basically take a close look at their stats and, make the modifications. You'll notice that for Ryuji here, he's also set up the same way. And if you go over to parts in the CPU, he also has the SetchV. Now, if you take a look at Primrose, Natalie's mech, and then you take a look at Jerry Can, Keith's mech, and then you go down to, Witness for Frederick here, they are all set up pretty similarly because they're designed to hit with the grenade launcher at long range. And you'll notice that Frederick there has the Egret missile launcher and a different body on him as well. Primrose. In the left hand, you have the grenade launcher. You have the Type 7 Iguchi grenade launcher, and in the right hand, you have the Pat 55 submachine gun. Now, notice that this is a multi-purpose weapon, so I'm going to explain how this works. A multi-purpose weapon like a grenade launcher, it is both short range and long range. You can use it at short range, and you can use it at long range. Why? Because if you look down on the bottom right corner of the screen, you see that little icon with the arrow right there? The one that's just right of the crosshair that says 58? That's the range, that's the tile range in which the projectile can be fired. It has a range of 1 to 4 tiles. I need to add that this correlates directly to what fire control CPU you're actually using. And in this case, she is using the Meteor fire control system because it has a large amount of short, but you'll notice it has the long buff of 16 points. So, depending on what you're going for in this game, you're going to need the appropriate fire control system CPU in order to maximize the effects of whatever build it is you're going for. Like if you're going to run missiles and grenade launchers, they'll perform much better with, a long-range CPU. And if you're going to run machine guns, you're going to need a short-range CPU. Same thing if you're running shotguns or flamethrowers. That's short-range. Long-range is grenade launchers and missiles, obviously. Now you're going to go all the way down to Mechs here. And you'll notice she's set up quite differently. Now, since she's a melee character, obviously I don't have to worry about short range or long range. The only two stats that are important on a melee character are melee and dodge, which is all they're ever going to really do anyway. So, perk of having a melee character is you can max out the defense with having 2 shields, and you can put a melee weapon on each arm, throw a backpack on them, and then give them the beefiest actual mech that's available and just go straight all armor. But don't forget about mobility. You still need some mobility coming from the legs on your melee characters, your melee mechs. So obviously I went with the full Husky set, Husky Mark IV at this point in the game just for sake of this video. And she has all Husky parts, and then I gave her that Russian, I don't even know how to pronounce that, but you'll notice it has melee of 22 and dodge of 22. When you're running melee characters, you need to have that CPU fire control system that buffs melee and dodge as much as possible. Those are the ones you want to put on there. So I hope all those details helped you out and you have a better grasp on the game and how you're supposed to set up your mechs and actually grind the arena. And this game can get rather tedious at times, but I hope this walkthrough is helping everybody.